Hi there. If you're watching this video, you've most likely purchased or received one of these do-it-yourself needle felting kits. This one is called Love Blooms, and it's about a 5-inch piece when it's finished. I'll show you the back there, what it will look like once you're done poking and felting the wool together. I'll put that aside. I'll talk about what's included in the kit. So you have the linen backing, and this is just a thin piece of linen, has tiny little holes that enables the needles to pass through, and it holds all those wool fibers together. And at first you want to just take some of those frayed edges off before you get started, and then they won't give you any trouble or stick out of the piece later. All right, there we go. So you have your backing linen, and included in the kit is 2 needles. These are felting needles, which is just a really fine, sharp end that has little barbs on it. And what that does is it catches those fibers and pushes them through the backing. And eventually, once you poke it so many times, it will felt together into a piece of wool felt. Okay, so you have 2 needles because sometimes they break. They are very fragile, but if you use it in the right way, you could use the same needle over and over and over again. And we'll talk about, how to do that here in a minute. So you have your linen backing, you have your foam, and this allows you to poke through and not hurt your table. And it enables those wool fibers to poke through, and occasionally you'll gently pull up your piece and put it back down and felt it some more. And you also have the wool included for this project. And I will undo this for you so you can see. There's a couple different types of wool here. The white and the blue and the green, the 2 greens, are what is called carded wool, which is almost halfway pre-felted. It's all combed together and halfway there already. And then you have another green and a red, and these are fine merino wool. So they're very soft. They're all going in one direction, the fibers. And these are great for doing detailed work, lines, versus the carded wool is great for larger areas, more of an even coating in a bigger mass, section. Okay, so we will put those aside and we'll get started here. Okay, so you will have, this is a finished piece, and this is what it will look like once it's finished. And you, in your kit, have a photograph printed of this piece. So you'll want to refer to that while you're working on the project. Okay, so for this project, I'd like to start by defining those hill lines, and we're going to do that with this dark green fine merino wool here. And gently, you just take your thumb at the end and finger and just give a gentle pull, and you'll pull off a little bit of that fiber. And then what I like to do is kind of just fold it in half, so you have kind of an end to start with, to guide with your needle. So let's see here. So we want to do our hill lines there and there. So I'm looking at the piece, and it looks like it's about 2/3 of the way up. And you don't have to be exact here. It's all turn out nicely. Okay, so I'm starting, and with that folded edge, I just kind of put it over the edge of the linen for starters. And you really want the wool to go over that edge just a little. So I'm just kind of looking at the picture and kind of using that needle to kind of guide it to where we want it here. And with the needle, it is very fragile, and a lot of felters would say, oh, don't you dare push the push the wool with that needle. But it's really important to get those fibers where you want. You just have to be gentle. And then when you're pushing the fibers through, you want to go in one direction and come out that same direction, and that will help not break the needle. Because if you stick it in and then turn it, you could end up breaking that point off. Okay, so we've got a nice line started here with that one side of the hill. Now we're going to, again, take our finger, our thumb, and just kind of pull a little piece off there. And then we're going to fold it in half. And we're going to find where that line of the other hill is on the other side. So from the picture, it looks like it just starts a little bit lower than that one. So we're going to take that, fold it in, and just push it right in off the edge there. And we're just going to start kind of defining that line. And see how I'm just kind of dragging it a little, very gently. And that puts those fibers where we want them. Okay, we're going to need a little bit more of that. So a gentle tug. And you don't have to fold it. I like to fold it generally when I'm over the edge. But you don't really have to do that unless you want to work with a smaller piece, which we can here. Just gonna start pulling that there, and then just start guiding it down. Looking at the picture, this hill kind of goes off to here. So we're just gonna, now at this point, you know, you've kind of barely got it on there. You know, maybe if you want to make your hill just a little more rounded, you can kind of get those fibers right where you want them. Okay, so we've defined those two lines. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to keep adding to those, just to give it some bulk. We know where our line is, so we can just go a little faster, but you go at your own speed. There's no need to rush. Okay, and we'll put a little bit more over this line. Down here. And again, we folded it and we're putting it over that edge just a little. Not a lot, but you know, 1/8 of an inch or more. All right, so we've got our hill lines now. Now at this point, you could either start doing the greens on the bottom, or you can do the sky. I think we'll go ahead and start the sky at this point, and then we'll continue on. So with the sky, we've got a little bit of white and the blue. So we'll grab those colors. So we'll start with the white. So just pull off a little piece here, kind of spread it out just a little and fold it. And by folding it, you are doubling up the amount in one spot. And we're just going to gently with our needle, just kind of poke it right there. And then just keep kind of dragging that to that line. Just like that. And the white's really just kind of in the middle. But feel free to do what you want. You could have little puffy clouds here and there. It's all up to you. I'm going to demonstrate this particular one here, and you can go and do what you wish. All right, so we've got a good amount of white wool right there. And again, we're just kind of guiding it with our needle and pushing it through along the edge. Now we're going to take some of our blue and we're going to fold it again. And we're going to put that folded edge right over the edge of the piece up there. And go ahead and push. And you'll you'll just keep taking pieces like that. Sometimes there's little specks of straw or something. There's always, this is wool, a natural fiber, so you're going to find a few things in it occasionally. All right, and we folded that, and we're going to put this one right back up here next to it, kind of overlapping, because really, ideally, you want a nice, even coat of wool. You don't want it to be super lumpy here or and super thin there. You want to get it as even as possible. And we doubled it again. Now we're just going to kind of take it in that corner, fold it around. And notice again, I'm going over the edge just a little bit. And just a little bit more here. Do the same thing. We're going to come right up to that line of our hill. And just keep pushing fibers up to that edge. And then go ahead and take it up and blend it with the rest. And a little bit more blue. We're going to do the same thing over here. Just bring it right up to that edge. Putting plenty of wool right. You know, you're really kind of almost overlapping that green just a little bit, just so you don't have any spaces later. And we'll just keep taking some more blue there. And we're just going to kind of blend and connect with the white. So we'll start by covering the backing. Merging the two a little bit. Okay, and at this point, you just kind of want to feel it. Anything feels kind of thin, just add a little bit more wool in that area. Okay. That's pretty good. So we're going to take a little bit more of the white, and we're just kind of blend. We're going to blend out to the blue. And just kind of guide your needle kind of off. So you're just spilling out a little bit of that white into the blue. And just taking little pieces at a time. Okay, that looks pretty good for now. So we've got a good base down. We've covered the complete piece of linen nice and evenly. And we're going to just define that line here before we get started with the hills. Okay. Now, on the hills, we have the two different color greens that's carded wool. It's halfway it's pre-felted. So we're going to start with the darker of the two. Oop, a little too much. Pull off maybe a little bit like that. And again, we're just going to kind of fold it on the edge where it goes over the linen edge just a little bit. And we're just going to follow, just overlapping that green line just a little. You still want to see it, but you don't want there to be a gap between the two. Okay. And keep in mind when you're laying out the darker green that you're going to add in some of this lighter green in these sections. So more towards the middle of this triangle and the middle of this space here. So just keep that in mind while you're laying out the green. So we're just going to continue down this side. And folding that edge over as we go. It's pretty much just adding double at once, you know, and providing a nice edge You can always clean up those edges that are spilling off a little. Now we'll take a little piece here. We'll go ahead and start on this side. And again, taking it right up just past the edge of that dark green line. We still want to see it, but we want to make sure we cover it just a hair so there's no gaps. And then also a dark green behind this hill. So it looks like it's in the distance. And again, taking that over that line just a little. And we're going to do the same thing up in here, but since it's a smaller space, we're going to just do a little bit at a time. So guiding those fibers with our needle. Just take it up there, just like that. And this piece here, do the same towards the bottom. Just want to see that line and cover it just a hair. Okay, I'm going to leave that blank there for now. We'll put our lighter green there when we're ready. We'll take a little bit more of our darker green and we'll start at this edge. And again, we're going up to that line, not over it. Still want to see it, but we want make sure there's no gaps. And again, we'll start a little bit less of a piece there. We'll start defining that line coming down. We still want to see that line there. All right, maybe a little bit more down here over the edge. Now we'll get our lighter green out here going. So we'll pull a little piece of that off and we'll start at the bottom. And another piece. Remember, the consistent thickness is best. Just kind of spread it out a little bit. And we just want a little bit of that green spilling over onto that dark green. Speck of something. And go over here. And again, we're going to spill over just a little bit into that darker green. And keep going there. We'll be filling that space. And keep referring to your picture. Seeing how much green and where to put it down. I'm going to take this kind of to that edge of that hill. So it kind of looks like this is in the background. Again, we've got a little bit of a bare spot there, so we're going to put some more down. That looks pretty good. Maybe blend a little piece a little bit farther out up here. Okay, so now we'll take a little bit more of that and do the same on this hill in the background. Just start over at that point, kind of just gradually bring that out. Okay, that's pretty good. All right, so we've got a good base down now. We've got our sky and our hills. And I'm just gonna go around and kind of tidy up our lines, pull in some fibers that are sticking out a little farther. Just trying to keep our edge nice and square. Okay. So let's go ahead and start just kind of really detailing that white where the white meets the hill. I want it to be a nice clean line. And we'll tidy up some of this. Now, before we start doing the flowers, it's important to have a little bit more of a flatter base. So what you're going to do is you're just going to start poking away, just kind of flattening out this area where you're going to put those heart flowers. And again, we're going in and out the same direction so that we don't snap our needle. And any fibers that don't look right, you know, just kind of gently move them with your needle, spread them around. Okay, so we're really just going to concentrate right now on this area right here. Putting this as nice and flat as possible. Takes a lot of poking. Okay, looks pretty good. All right, let's start putting our red flowers down. So this again is a fine merino wool. It's soft and it's all going one direction, so it's perfect for doing detail work, lines. So again, we're going to fold it in half, pull a little piece off and fold it in half. And I think compositionally on this piece, what we did over here is we started with that point, the bottom point of those heart flowers, and we're kind of directing it to where they're all kind of pointing to here and flaring out. So this is kind of our midpoint. So what we're going to do is we're going to just start placing our first heart, and the hearts in the foreground, of course, are going to be bigger than the hearts in the background. So you just start with that bottom point and just start guiding those red fibers down and creating that heart shape. Take your time, no rush. Just moving those fibers, guiding them with the needle, and then tidying it up that what we've laid down there. And trying to make that kind of as round of as possible on the humps of the heart there. There. So we've got one. So we've put our foreground beginning heart there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit less of a piece, maybe even a little less than that. And we're going to do our farthest back heart that's on this hill. So way back here. So you're going to do just as small as you can V. And that's going to look like that heart flower back there. Just back to that center point. Oh, maybe a little bit more here. And just kind of push it down and guide it with your needle. Just moving that fiber with my finger back and forth. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, so we'll take a little bit more red here, and we'll just keep, either you can start back with these flowers, or you can start from here. If we start moving forward, we want these flowers to be just a little bit bigger as they move forward. And we're doing our V for starters. And moving those fibers around with our hand, kind of guiding them where we want them. Okay. And if you have a pair of scissors on hand, you can always trim up a little extra that you don't really need in that spot. You can just kind of snip it off. Okay. And we'll do another one up here. And it's with the composition of this piece, if you'll notice how these, like I was talking earlier, the flowers kind of flail out a little bit, but they're all kind of directing towards the sun's set or light spot in the sky there. So from the middle, we want these to kind of just go off just a little bit here off to the side, leaning towards that side. And we just guide it with our fingers and our needle. Okay. And you can always take a little bit of that green over the edge just to make it more of a rounded shape. We need a little bit more on this heart. Okay. This is a great exercise for learning how to guide the wool with your hand and the needle. Okay, that looks good. All right, so I'm going to switch gears to this farther hill up here. This way back in the background, so we're just going to take a little bit of our red, and we're going to just start just putting a little bit down. See how I pulled that out, which you can. If you don't like something, just pull it right back out. It's very forgiving. So I'm putting a little there, and then I'm dragging the fibers over here. I'm just going to put a little there. Maybe jog it down a hair. Put a little there. Just kind of want it to look like it's scattered a little bit. Like it's way in the distance, and there's a big patch of those flowers over there. Okay. So now what you can do to kind of blend that just a little, so it's not such a big mass of red, you can take a little bit of that green, just kind of poke it here and there, covering up just a little bit of that red. Something like that. And then you can add a little bit more of the red, just a little piece at a time, maybe a little up here. There we go. That looks pretty good. Okay, so we basically have done all the steps of this piece, and I'm going to let you finish doing the hearts, and I will explain the process of this. So once we've got everything where we want it, we really have to felt it. So you're going to keep poking and poking and poking until it's a nice flat area. You really want to felt those fibers together so they stay put. And eventually, to finish this project, you can iron the piece, and it will really cinch all those fibers down and make it very thin, and it will stick nicely to the piece of mat board that's included in the kit. Okay. Looking good. All right, I'm going to demonstrate a little bit now the stems of the flowers. So in this picture here, just a hint of the stems, and we're going to need to use the darker color. And what you can do is pull a little of that off and pull a little of this merino wool off that we used for our lines in the beginning, and just kind of put them together, pull them apart, and blend them. So you're just kind of pulling them apart, stacking it, pulling it apart. It's like that, like you would shuffle a deck of cards. So now you have a nice blended piece of wool there. We're going to pull a little bit of that off. And again, we're going to fold it just so we have a nice solid line start. We're just going to put it right at the edge of that heart. And then just take it right down. Back and forth until it's, use up your wool there. All right, and we'll take another piece here. Do the same thing, fold it. And we'll start at the bottom of that heart. And remember, we're kind of flaring out from the middle. So we're just gonna put it towards the middle, just like that. And then you can continue, and I think it's best to do all of your hearts first, and then go back and you'll know exactly where that line needs to be. And then if you want to, once you get all of your stems of your flowers done, you can go back and add a little extra green. Like here, maybe we can add just a little bit of a leaf coming off, like that. If you wish, just to add that more. Okay, well this is pretty much done. Besides adding those, I don't want to spend too much time showing you that on the video. So at this point, when you've got it really nicely felted to your foam, you're going to kind of just pull and push. And then just kind of push those fibers towards the middle of the piece, very gently. Because this edge, you went over the linen, so it's not, the edge isn't quite stuck to the linen. Okay, so now you got the edges, so you're just going to gently pull this off of there. Okay, it's very fluffy at this point, and I'll turn it over, and on the back you can see all those fibers going through. And now I'll show you, now once you've finished felting this over and over, so you pull it off once in a while, just so your holes are going in different places. You're going to redefine the edge, redefine those specific lines of your hearts and the hill lines, and you're just going to keep doing that and keep poking, and eventually what you will have is a piece that looks more like this. And you've got a lot of fibers going through the back, and then eventually you'll felt this down and it will be closer to looking like this. But this piece has been ironed, so you can really tell how much of those fibers have gone through and how much flatter it is now. And this will be able to be affixed to your mat board that's included. So in your kit is an 8-inch mat with some double-sided tape. So you'll just pull, first before you pull the tape off, you'll take it out of the sleeve and you'll lay your piece down and just lightly mark with a pencil where your piece is centered. And then you'll pull that off, pull the tape, and then you'll have a guide to lay that piece down. And just press it into place. And then you'll have a nice finished piece that you made all by yourself. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. If you'd like to see other kits available, you can see me at shows, Fiddlehead Fiber. You can go to the website studioyates.com to see the show schedule. Or you can order online at fiddleheadfiberart.etsy.com. Well, I hope you enjoy it as much as I do, and happy felting. Thank you.